Oh, what's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, a Traxia demon and with a ravaged realm over, and not really much to do in Chains of Eternity. The season is about over. On a Friday, we will be getting Echoes of Dissent, and I want to help you guys get ready. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Now we're going to talk about one of the biggest changes coming to the season. So we're going to go in here and we're going to have what I'll call sub-seasons or phases, right? So in each phase we are going to have a level cap. It's going to go 600, 900, 1200. We're going to be capped on AFK stage progression. So you can see it's going to cap at 918. So we do have an end to stages essentially at 2700. We're gonna get a different Primal Lord each phase. I like that change. We're gonna get to stage 2 of the talents here, so we're gonna get our double talent tiles, artifacts, Duras, legend trials, they all cap. Alright, so let's go ahead. We'll take a look at the stages. So stages, as I said, capped out, and once you hit that cap for the phase, we will say, see, phase 1, you're going to be able to do endless stages. Now this works very similar to how it did during Song. So if you were on a later server and you didn't get Song or right of way, typically if like the G servers, you would get infinite stages and you would just run those until you got the season. So by completing this, or whoever I should say completes this first, probably in your district, you're going to get extra XP, right? So the better stage pusher you have in your district, the better, right? So you definitely want someone that's pushing stages because that benefits the entire district, right? So you're going to get extra diamonds, you are going to get extra XP, these tokens to upgrade, and these tokens for your equipment. Definitely some good stuff. Now, talking about stages, let's go ahead. We'll take a look at some of the stages, and we'll talk about some of the push teams that you may want to use. I have some saved in my formations as well, and we'll talk about these. This was a team that I was experimenting on. Sadly, it fell short. Now, this is a walled stage, so we are going to see a record with Kulu, because Kulu is really good for these walled stages. So what she's going to do, essentially, is she's going to wall these two enemies in here, and they're not really going to be able to do much, and then we're going to just have to really worry about these as we kind of AoE and burn everybody down. So you're going to see a Kulu with some niche use in stages. I definitely wouldn't pull her just for stages. You're going to have other teams that can clear it, but you're going to definitely have this core. The core always being Aaron, Almas, and the twins. You're going to see a lot of them. You're just going to see variations on who you run with them. Most commonly, you are going to see something, I think, like this. We're going to drop, actually, not Bonnie is most common. You're going to see this. That's right. Lucy is a phenomenal push hero. You're going to see her a lot with the control teams. Now, Arden here is kind of a flex. We could drop Arden and we could run Tassie. You're going to probably see this more of on the other side. But these are definitely going to be your bigger control-based push teams. Now, again, it's either going to be these three, and then typically either Arden or Tassie with a flex spot here of what you're going to run based on need, like an Odie if you want the execute, Lucy if you really need a lot of extra control, Bonnie potentially, Carolina, although Carolina is kind of a downgrade from Bonnie at this point. This is that Carolina offers more damage. Kulu for Mimi, these type of stages, Natsu if you want to like knock down their HP, that type of thing. Alright, so control is still going to be there, because if we take a look at the flip side here, as you can see, like, they have the Lucy version, right? We're still gonna need to run control. You're gonna have variations here. You can either run with, like, a Tassie for the sleep and the extra, you know, control until we can get into the smoky range. You could run it with Arden, or you could try running it with Rowan just to make the whole thing go faster. Alright, so let's go ahead. We'll take a look at some other teams that weren't kind of covered there as well that you may need or have in your back pocket. Now you can run this variation with Coco or this variation with Hugin, and this is what I've been using for the Dead Tide stage primarily. So we'll take a look at that. So again, Dead Tide mobs, you want to run your Freyasto, Hugin, Smokey, Odie, and the twins with Star Shard. We'll talk about artifacts here in a little bit. This is more of a wall type of a situation, and just something I was trying. We have your typical setup here for your Natsu Auto Harak team or your Natsu Tailin team. Something else you may want to use on talent stages, but these are more things that you would probably use a little bit later on. I wouldn't recommend using them early on because they tend to be a bit slower, especially in Harak's case. Alright, so as far as artifacts go, this is right now the go-to spell for push, is the Shadow Blast spell, and this replaces your Star Shard spell around plus, I want to say 13. So it's a lot sooner replacing Star Shard, and then we replaced it last season just because of how good this artifact is. This is kind of like your go-to again for stage pushing. Alright, let's talk about the different talents, because that's the other thing that has changed. So the Lightbearer talent tiles, when the battle starts, conjures a magic bow infused with a divine light, reducing the prime carrier's ultimate damage by 40%. Each time the prime carrier and their summons land for normal attacks on the enemies, the bow fires an arrow at the target, can trigger every 1 second. Right, so this is good for Indris, this is good for Smokey, and this will probably be good for Zany. The, I think it's Zany or Zane or whatever the dwarf girl's name is. When she releases, it's, I think, really geared more towards her because it looks like she's going to have some summons just based on the season trailer. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Potentially Florbell could work with this. I just haven't really tried it out because, again, control is so strong. We're kind of running control right now regardless of the talent effects. So the talent buff tile, 3 seconds into the battle, sacrifice 30% of each ally's HP. Ouch. Has a massive lightning circle in 16 seconds, during which all allies gain 7 haste. That's nice. Once the summon is complete, deals magic damage equal to the prime carriers, 60% to all enemies, stuns them, and reduces their haste for 16 seconds. And then this is just the various effects that come after. Alright. So then next we have the Mauler factions. I think this is going to be bigger for your PvP side than the other ones. It's create a 1-tile dual zone around the prime carrier, reducing their damage dealt to enemies outside the zone by 50%, and damage taken from outside of enemies by 50%, right? So they want to be in melee range. So again, melee heroes like a Seth, Lenya, Harak, Natsu, that type of deal, because Natsu isn't really relying on too much on damage, but on health, overall health, blocking / reduction, right? From his Lightning Dragon Breath, which is the better of the two for a PvP. Alright, so every 2 seconds, the prime carrier strikes the enemies within the dual zone, dealing physical damage equal to 12% of their HP. So I think this is going to be big for your bossing. So Primal Lord, Guild Supremacy, we'll kind of have to see there how it pounds out, but I think this is going to be your go-to for PvP, and your go-to for bossing, because Mauler has been pretty big on bosses the past few seasons, as well as Celestial Hypo. Alright, so we'll take a look at Go Reborn. When the battle starts, the prime carrier sacrifices 60% HP to gain an 80% soul barrier. That lasts until the end of battle. While the soul barrier is active, it increases the prime carrier's damage dealt by 20%, and reduces their damage taken by 10%. This also too could be interesting for bossing, just by the fact that you're going to be able to get your boss killer more damage dealt, right? So that's going to be bigger chunks of damage on, yeah. So that could be interesting for bossing as well. I don't see that one working too well at the end of a day for stages, and I'm not entirely sold on it for PvP, but we'll have to wait and see what comes. Alright, and then lastly is our Celestial Hypo Tiles. When the battle starts, the Prime Carrier channels the Strength of Light, sacrificing 30% of their attack to boost their energy recovery by 50%. Each time the Prime Carrier casts their ult, they embrace the Power of Darkness, sacrificing 25% of their current HP to increase their attack by 32%. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. It's a little weird. I think it kind of hinders the auto Harok team a little bit, but not too much because we're relying on Harok to eat the enemies. I think this is nice for like a Talene who is reliant heavily on ult damage. So this is geared more towards your big ult characters rather than your big normal damage characters. Say like Athalia wouldn't be a good fit here because most of her damage is going to come from like a Vengeance charge, which is then going to be reduced by 30%. Not very good, right? So those are some of the things to consider. This one could be effective for a PvP. I'm just not sure because typically you would put it on someone in the back tile, like a Cryonaya. But Cryonaya does so much damage outside of her ult. I can't see this working well with her either. So those are some things to consider. One of the biggest changes, right, is that the Wilder tiles will make people no longer protected on those back tiles. So see a change come Supreme Arena where we can target those back heroes a little bit better. So we're just going to see a meta shift there. Heroes like Arena are going to be once again viable for a Supreme Arena. But other than that, there's no real changes to the game modes. We do have some new bosses in Dream Realm. Let me go here. Alright, so as you can see, we have the Nocturne Adjudicator. We are getting the Necro Dragons coming back, and we're getting the Duke as a boss here as well. This is the Duke. And then we just still have, you know, Creeper, Thalassa, Beetle, Lucia, and Shellbrood, right? And we're losing Orson, Snow Stomper, and a Lone Gaze Wolf. So all those three get retired. And Necro Dragon, I don't know if it got reworked, but it's coming out of retirement. So that's it. There's nothing really big changing elsewise. Duras is still Duras. We're just going to have more floors. About charms, though, there is a new charm. It's this green level charm. I don't know why they're putting it in here. It's worse than this charm. I don't know why Magic Charm 2 can't be kind of like the base, but whatever. Or maybe they're just changing it to be green from blue. I don't know. You still don't get your set bonus until Elite here. So that's what you want to go for. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Good luck on the season, and we'll cover any new game modes as they drop. Bye!